Like any implementation project, even though Salesforce is on cloud, the project life cycle remains same. Okay. Let's take a scenario. We are an implementation partner for Salesforce and we have received a client project to implement Salesforce for them. So there would have been multiple phases. First of all, to grab that project itself. Okay. There are a lot of implementation partners in the world and everyone wants to work on an implementation. Everyone is out there for money. They want business. Okay. So there is a pre-sales team, then there is a sales team, there is a costing team, accounting team, there is a tendering team. So all these teams work together and after that you get a project. Now once you get a project, some of the people from client side are allocated to explain the requirements to your team. Okay. So these people from client side could be someone who have good knowledge of their business and they know the basics, nitty and gritties of their business. So there will be someone who will be able to explain you what actually they need in Salesforce better. Now from the implementation company side, people known as functional consultant or business analyst are sent to the client for meeting. So they take those requirements, they give their suggestions for improvement that you can do this in this way or maybe that way. So there are several discussions which go out and after that a functional requirement document is made. Now this document is named by different terminologies in different companies. Some call it BRD, business requirement document, some call it URD, user requirement document, someone will call it as an FS, functional specifications. So there could be multiple names for the document, but whole purpose of that document is to note down the requirement of the client. Now even that document can be broken into two phases. One is high level document and then there is low level document. Okay. So high level document can be the a theoretical document explaining that how complete business works, and the lower level document could be breaking that down into small steps, that if you save lead this should happen, if in particular field of this lead this amount of value is entered, then this kind of workflow should get fired. So we break those down into documents, functional documents. Now once that functional document is prepared, that document is given to client for its approval. We also call it as for sign off. So once client signs off that document, then that document is given to the technical team to convert that document into technical specification. Now depending upon the size and level of the company, you could have couple of people who are advanced or maybe senior developers, also known as technical architect, who first work on that document and convert that into technical specs and then distribute those technical specs broken into various modules to their separate developers. Okay, so one developer could be given the lead object to work on, one developer could be given the account object, someone could be given the work to work on triggers, someone could be asked to write a batch class. So different developers work on that project. So once developers start working on that project, they go through various iterations. So they will need constant discussions with their technical architect and their functional consultant, basically for their queries and all. Okay. So once they develop their application, now it is given to the testers. So we have a testing team. Okay. Now the testing team, what they will do, they will go through the functional doc and then parallelly they will test the requirement, that whatever was mentioned in the user requirement document, has the steps been developed in the same fashion or not. So once they are satisfied after all the bugs or changes which they advise to the developers have been done, then that application is handed over to the client. Now client will again test that, they will give their make their points, they will give their whatever you can say changes if they are requirement, their suggestions and all. So if any suggestion is there for improvement, for any changes, or they feel that a particular application or particular scenario is not running as per their understanding, so they might come back. So this was our understanding, but this has been developed into this format, so which is not right. You need to make these changes. Okay, so these all bugs are tracked, written down into a bug tracker, and then the accordingly changes are made into the functional document and the technical specification document as well. So basically earlier it was version 1.0, now we have version 2.0. Okay, so that changes come back to developer, they again make changes, again go through the testing team, again client will test it. If again changes are required, again it will come back. So after several iterations, and it's a very common scenario, at least version 3 or 4, the people will go to at least version 3 or 4. Because discussing in a closed room in a meeting is something different, but seeing that application live after it has been built, it is something different. Okay. So after that, once client accept and signs off the development, then it is moved to the production environment. Now all this development and testing is done in a sandbox. Okay. So we can have a sandbox for development, then we can have a sandbox for testing. After approval from the client, written approval from the client, then only that data is moved to production. Now once the data is moved to production, the client team will start using that. So somebody from our implementation partner needs to go ahead and train those people as well, because those people might not be involved in those discussions which were done earlier. In the discussion, maybe senior managers were people who know in and out of the business, they were there who were telling the requirement, but actual users of that Salesforce will be someone, their marketing staff, their sales staff, who are going to the field visit, who are going to meet the client. They will be actual users. So they should be trained. So there is a user training given to those as well. So after user training is given, it is the duty of the user, the trainer who is giving user training, to ensure that there is user adoption. So even at that stage, if he might feel that some of the points are conflicting with the actual working of the users, the way they work has not been implemented, even at that phase they can come back with changes. It totally depends on that when we got that implementation project, what legal agreements were signed into that contract. Okay, so if that contract has this clause that even after user training, if changes come, you have to do that, then you will have to do that. Okay, if the contract does not have that clause, then that client might go ahead and get it developed from somewhere else, or they can have their in-house developers as well to work on small changes as well. Okay, or maybe they can pay extra money for those changes. That's altogether different scenario. So let's say I was just thinking of a requirement. So let's say we have a company ABC Limited which manufactures different types of yarns. Now they have their customer base throughout the world, and they primarily target clothing industries. Okay, so they have their field staff, their marketing staff, which goes for client visit. They carry samples with them, they distribute samples, which is also a part of the cost incurred. Now if you think the scenario from a manager point of view, you need to understand that what all information should be available to him. Now the manager might need to know how many number of visits were done, how many leads got generated, how many leads got converted into opportunity, and how many opportunities were actually closed won and an account was generated. So an account is someone who is actually paying you money now. Okay, so he is your account in Salesforce. So then there will be a lot of small automations within these tasks, that an email should get triggered on such scenario, or this field should get updated on the following scenario. So those will be part of those functional document which we were talking earlier about. Okay, then company might be running discounts, they might be giving special incentives to the purchase staff and all. So all these things need to be implemented in Salesforce. So this could be a kind of project. Okay, now whenever this requirement will come to you, so you will go to Salesforce. The first step is to create an application. I'm talking about a new implementation. There are projects where the client got it implemented by another company, but after 1 or 2 years they might need some changes to their application, and this time they have come to you. So here you will not be creating a new application, you will be only be making changes to the existing objects and application. Okay, but primarily for every new project you will have to create an application. Like here, these are all our application. Now in Salesforce, application is nothing. It is just collection of tabs. That's all. You see these tabs here? If I go to different application, let's say I go to marketing. So you will see different tabs here, you see. If I go to sales, you will see different set of tabs. Now there could even be a scenario that a company is working on two different type of business. They might be manufacturing laptops and they might be manufacturing medical equipments as well. So you will have to develop two separate applications because these are all together totally different business. Now the client will not go ahead and buy a separate Salesforce for marketing for laptop and a separate Salesforce for medical equipment. They will not do that. Okay. So what you can do, you can create two separate applications. Now the laptop business will have separate object, separate business scenario. The medical equipment business will have separate object, separate business scenario. Okay. So you can create two applications within same Salesforce. And we will see all these things in the coming video, so you not need to worry about. Just I wanted to give you a basic idea that how does a project life cycle in Salesforce work. Okay. So meet you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye. All the best.